Hey guys, it's me, Phoenix Labs here, and today I'm going to be doing a review over Great Wall Hobbies TBD Devastator in 1/48th scale. And real quick, I'd like to mention that those who view my channel will notice that usually on Saturdays I release build videos, but I'm going to be making a bit of a change to my usual scheduling, and I'll kind of go over that at the end of the video. So, let's talk about the kit. The TBD Devastator was a American torpedo bomber and also regular bomber that was developed in the early 1930s, and it has a pretty rough reputation, mostly because when it was made it was pretty revolutionary. There was very few all-metal aircraft, and they didn't have the same streamlining as this thing did, but there was also a few other developments that came out after this was made, after the Devastator was made, that ended up making the Devastator pretty obsolete by the start of the Second World War. That, coupled with the fact that it had a really unreliable torpedo, kind of left it with a pretty unsavory reputation. Now, this kit came out in 2012 and retails, at least online, for around 55 to 60 bucks. Those of you who follow Hobby Boss will know that Hobby Boss recently came out with a new tooling for the Devastator, I believe last year, and unfortunately I have not built that kit, so I'm not going to really be able to provide any insight on whether or not this kit is better than the Hobby Boss kit, but Great Wall Hobby has a better reputation than Hobby Boss does. Not to say that Hobby Boss is a bad company. I build their kits all the time, but I don't know. Let's stop yapping and get into the kit. Starting off here, we have a nice color printed instruction manual, which we'll go over in a second. And starting off, we have starting off with sprues, we have the clear sprue. Here we can see the two position options you have. One is closed and one is opened. Do believe it will be a little annoying if you want to have the pilot cockpit closed, but also the rear gunner station open, but I'm sure one can manage. These are nice, crisp, well detailed. Got nice looking rivets on the canopy structure. Definitely going to be a bit of a pain to mask, as those corners don't seem to be all that sharp, so definitely something to keep in mind. And it does look like we're going to have to thread a part through there, but should be too much of an issue. These little tab thingies don't seem to be on there too good, so that's nice. Definitely want to be careful of those though, so you don't snap them off and accidentally take some of the plastic off the canopy. That right back in its bag, so that way it doesn't scratch up the other parts. Next up is the fuselage. And what looks like some bombs, a bit of the landing gear, and I'm gonna guess that's a depth charge. So, open up this real quick. Seems like these bags are all sealed with one staple at the center. Panel lines. Panel lines are nice and crisply molded. I am a little bit worried about these this connection point for the tail surfaces, but I'm sure it's going to be a nice fit. And yeah, using the reflection of the light, that does not really come up on camera too well. Can just barely see some ever so slight rivet detail. especially along here. That is nice to see, but with how small they are, I mean, I'm sure they're in scale, but with how small those are, they're probably going to get swallowed up by paint. So that's a little unfortunate, but I'm glad they made the attempt. And those of you who do know the Devastator are, I'm pretty sure that the rivets were not recessed like this. They were actually, outwards, which is, they were raised. I think that's the better terminology for it. I'm sure I'll put up some pictures of the actual aircraft on there, but yeah, bit unfortunate, but still, I'm glad they made the effort to put them on there. Tail looks beautiful. That is super nicely molded. And on this side, we get to see the interior, which has that sort of structuring texture to it. I say texture, but it's pretty much what the bolts are bolted onto. Little window down there. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have a few pegs that we're going to be stuffing through those holes. It's all nice. Second up, we have what looks like to be the torpedo, seats, engine, and propeller. So don't really have to take this one out of the bag to see, but that engine is really nicely molded. For a moment there, I thought that was flash, but I think those are little connective bits. Got a bit of the, guess, radiator. I guess it's not really radiator, but a bit of the engine cooling system there. Some pretty nicely molded Browning 30 cals. It's interesting that this comes with 3 of them, so I wonder if there's able to display all of them visibly. Or maybe there's like a double mount. I think a few of the guns were mounted on a double mount for the defensive turret. Here we have the seats and, of course, the really nicely molded torpedo, which, yeah, no, really nice. A few other small bits. Not really all that much to say about that. Now, here are the wings. You can actually take these ones out. So here we have the part of the bottom of the wing. Seems like it's divided into, how many parts is that? 7 parts. That is very crisply molded and well detailed. So nice and raised. You can run your nail over those. You can see where the torpedo bay is on this aircraft. And the outlines of the landing gear. Very nice. Wings are also similarly really well textured. Got that nice metal, I think they use duraluminium or something like that. So, and the manufacturing process sometimes required the weird ridges on the ear. Though I might be wrong about that. Don't take what I say as gospel. Here we have some nice surfaces as well. Then final sprue. Looks like it has a lot of parts for the cockpit as well as the inside of the folding wing. This thing is going to be a joy if you really like chipping. Chipping detail would be great. Tail surfaces, once again, looking beautiful. Some nice texturing for the inside of the flaps. part of the cockpit there. Pretty sure that's... Actually, that might be the torpedo bay, but it's part of the interior there. And what looks like to be the cockpit floor with what looks like to be instrument panels and other stuff. I was gonna say radios, but those don't look like radios. Very nice. Get a good look at the interior of the wings. And I believe this is the top of the cockpit where the pilot and radio operator / gunner will sit. Very nice. And then we have some antennas. And finally we have whatever these are. Probably part of the seats, if I had to guess. And the engine cowling, which is molded as one piece. Get this staple out. Staples are nice, but also they can sometimes get caught, so it makes views like these a little tedious. Can confirm that is a circle. And yeah, nothing much to say. Also really well detailed. Sure, with the Hobby Boss kit, the only thing I think it's really going to improve on is maybe having those rivet details be a little bit more visible, because they're really light on this aircraft, and if you've seen one of these in real life, you'll know that those rivets poke out quite a bit. They're very visible, so yeah, no. It's not the end of the kit, though. And then, of course, I'll stick it on there a little bit. Here we got some nice photo etch. Some nice big parts, some seat belts, and a bit of the engine there. And I'm gonna assume the rest of these are parts of the machine gun. Not as much back details, but that's kind of expected. Decals, not a lot of them surprisingly, but then again, this is a 30s aircraft. Does not seem like this was properly sealed, which is a little concerning, but don't see any cracks forming, so they're probably fine. Some nice tail surface, tail stripes there. Little dragon. I think this has 2 different variants you can make, and both of them have this early roundel on them. And as you can see down here, all of the instrument panel bits are their own thing, which looks like you have 2 of them. So I'm sure some of them are used for in-flight or on the ground, but those are still... It's still really nice that they included spares, because really small decals like these get lost all the time, so really nice to have that. Alright, moving on to the instructions. Here we can see the very well printed box art. I always like it when they have the instruction manuals in color. Makes things a little bit easier to see, I feel. And obviously the parts only need to be gray, but when they're doing paint callouts, like for example back here, it's always nice to have them in color. I'm honestly sometimes baffled when a company has their paint references not in color always annoys the crap out of me, especially if the kit came out in the last 20 years where, I mean, I know printer ink's expensive, but I feel like it's kind of standard now, if that makes sense. It's one of the few things I don't like about some Tamiya kits. Some of them. But anyways, we're getting sidetracked here. Let's get back to the instruction manual. Box art, as I said. Here we got a little bit of history. This specifically is about their deployment at Wake Island. And it's talking about how its main armament was 2 500-pound bombs. And since this is the Wake Island kit, obviously it's tailored towards TBD Devastators that were deployed at Wake Island. Or to Wake Island. We also have here in it some stats about the aircraft. All very interesting. And here it is in Chinese. Pretty sure that's Chinese. And again, it just seemed to be... Does seem to be only Chinese. Might be some Japanese in there. My Japanese is very limited. I do know that's Japanese, so maybe some of it is in Japanese. English, Chinese. Here we have all the call-outs for what you have to do with a specific part. And then, of course, the parts list. Here we can see the 4 sprues. I'm not going to count that as a sprue because it's only 2 parts. Decals, also in color, which is really cool. Photo etch and the engine cowling. Then down here we have paint callouts. And I'm pretty sure this is 3 different paint companies. Obviously Vallejo and Tamiya, but I also think that I think it's Mr. Hobby does these specific colors here, though I might be wrong. Guessing it's also maybe the closest equivalence to the Mr. Hobby color. Oh yeah, it says up here. So that's all nice and good. Up here we start off with the seats. Or I guess seat belts. You're making 2 of them apparently. These look actually pretty complicated, but these are definitely not the worst photo etch seat belts I've seen. Those who heard me complain about my SU-33 video, they had seat belts that were made out of like well over 10 different photo etch parts. It was ridiculous. And I mean, at that point, why not just include a resin seat? It was ridiculous. It's a lot of parts, but this one I actually feel is doable. So, well, I mean, obviously it's doable, but the average person might do. Then here we have the gunner seat, which seems to be set up so that he can rotate around. More of the cockpit assembly, probably where the pilot sits there. And then we have those parts being assembled onto the cockpit floor. Paddles, whatever those things are. Radio. Doesn't seem like they call out all the individual bits, so you might have to look up some pictures of the interior of the Devastator to make sure everything's correct. More radios, and looks like that seat up here goes onto the cockpit roof. Does also seem to go, well, I was almost going to say swing around, but it does look like those pegs allow it to move a little bit. Radio, fire extinguisher, and what seems to be 2 different options to display the defensive machine gun. Presumably that's with the canopy open. Machine gun, decently simple build, but it's got photo etch for some of the parts. I do find it a little annoying that they have the grips to some of these machine guns with photo etch, because they look, at least to me, they look really flat, and I would just much prefer a plastic part, even if it's a little out of scale. That's the first page done. Moving on, we got more of the interior. Seems like we put the cockpit floor in, and also all the side detail parts. And here we can see all the, try to get this in one hand. Here we can see where all the different dials and gadgets go. And two of the transparent parts, apparently, with whatever FE is. FE isn't listed out on here, as you can see, so really interested what that's supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be PE, photo etch, but I guess not. And here we got more of the dials being put on, more of the interior, some cranks. And then finally we can see a bit of the final assembly, as well as part there. That looks to be a part of the torpedo side assembly, or bomb side assembly, I should say. But looking in here, you can see the immaculate detail that comes with this kit. At least for the cockpit. I mean, I'm pretty sure for like 95% of modelers, that's like more than enough to have a nice, well-detailed cockpit to display with the canopy open. Though, I'm not sure how much of it's going to be all that visible if that panel's right there, but I don't know. Life finds a way. Does this aircraft have 3 crew? It doesn't say on there. I think this might actually have 3 crew. I've been training it like it's only got 2, but I might be wrong there. Radio antenna mast. More gadgets for the pilot. Yeah, no, it definitely wouldn't need a resin cockpit for this kit, but I know for some modelers they like the resin. So then finally we have the engine assembly. Engine, as we saw earlier, looked really well detailed, so you wouldn't really need a resin engine, but of course that depends on the modelers. And you can see that photo etch part being used for the hoses. Very well detailed. And finally, we have the rest of the engine, which includes the exhaust and the tailplane surfaces. And then you can put the engine cowling over, and then the propeller, which I guess that comes with raised lines, so someone might have to scrape those off, if I'm interpreting that correct. Here we can see the canopy and its 2 configuration, one open, one closed. I'm sure you can also have like specific parts of the cockpit open and closed, since you have all the individual pieces there. I do think that gluing this together is going to be a pain. And also, quick tip, or not really tip, but kind of reminder, these open bits you should paint first before you glue on. These bits you can glue on first, but these ones have to wait. So I know that's obvious to some people, but it's definitely worth reminding people about. And as I said, gluing these open is gonna be pretty interesting, because it looks like glue could easily climb its way up and then fog up those clear pieces. Now we have the first parts of the wing assembly. I initially assumed that those pegs were going to be used, but I guess not. Air intake and assembly of the bomb sight window doors, which, as you can see, you can display those either closed or open. So depending on whether or not you want to display this thing bombing something or not. It's a really cool detail that they included on this. Here we can see the landing gear assembly. Nice and simple. Not made up of 1,000 parts, which I always appreciate. And it seems like we can have them open and closed depending on how you build these. And obviously we can see here with them open and closed. We also see the start of the interior wings. Fueler cap, radio antenna mast, and some sort of gun sight, as well as parts for folding the wings. I'm sure you could probably leave these out if you're keeping them open. Then here, this is how you attach them if you want the wings unfolded, and then down here folded. That also seems to be where that weird piece that I brought up earlier goes. And all that's left is the bombs, which we get two options for. Either you can have two 500 pounds, an incendiary 500 pound, or you can have a depth charge, I believe. Oh wait, no, that's the incendiary. My bad. But as we saw earlier, this kit does come with a torpedo, so I'm sure with some ingenuity or maybe looking it up on ScaleMates, you can figure out how to put the torpedo on. I will say I'm a little disappointed that you can't have the option where you can bring, or where the aircraft could mount, like, I think it was like 10 100-pound bombs. I think that would look pretty cool on this thing. Actually, I think it was more than 10. I think it was something crazy like 16, but yeah, no. The way that they designed this aircraft, it's not meant for dive bombing. Pretty much they wanted to use this thing as like a regular level bomber, so think of like a B-17 flying over a place and then using its bomb sight to drop a shitload of bombs. So, yeah, no, weird for a naval aircraft, but that's what they thought would be effective at the time. Now, finally, we can move on to this immaculate digital artwork of the aircraft. Looks really beautiful. Whoever made this did a good job. Here we can see that it's pretty much just two colors, and then the rest is done by the decals. It seems to be a mix of two Mr. Hobby colors, and it seems to be a sort of light gray by Mr. Hobby. We can also see the landing gear is white. Nice and simple, but if you're like an experienced modeler, you'll know that this aircraft is absolutely ripe for pre-shading. So then of course you got the walking strips, the insignias, and then that really nice striped tail. Really like the look of that. And pretty sure we got a decal for the propeller. Just a real quick check. If it would stop sticking to the bottom of this. It's a little infuriating. Yeah, no, this kit did come with decals for the tips of the propeller, which is really nice because anyone who's masked a propeller knows that propellers are just pains in the butt to mask, so it's really nice that they included these. And then finally we have the bare metal camouflage that you would see with most early Devastators. Obviously, this one's in 1942, so it doesn't seem like it was repainted too much. Yeah, a nice silver and then yellow and green. It does look like you have to mask out those greens, which doesn't look too hard, but actually, you know what? I think it would be kind of hard because as you're masking it off with tape, you have to make sure that the tape sticks into each one of those grooves. So you're definitely going to need I would start from the top and then just go down with a toothpick or something like that. Because if you don't mask it off and you spray too much, then you're going to have a boatload of seepage from that green paint. Then here you can see the propeller seems to be white, or maybe that's, yeah, that should be white. And we also have a nice dragon decal, so that's all cool and all. So that's the last bit of this kit. What are my final thoughts? Well, this kit is looking really good. I haven't built it yet, obviously, because it's in front of me, but just from looking over it, I'm excited, I'm ecstatic. That cockpit is immaculate, and I'm sure people who like chipping effects will absolutely love to chip that cockpit. All the parts look nicely molded. You got some nice rivet detail, which, as I said, it's really small and you're probably gonna lose a lot of it once you're done painting, but all of it is all you would want from a really nice, well-designed kit. I can definitely see why this kit is $50, but I will also say that I feel like the Hobby Boss kit will probably have better rivet detailing. And by better, I mean they're not as small. So, and obviously you could probably just use some very, very thin layers of paint to keep that rivet detailing in, but yeah, no, that's definitely something could disappear. Right, so at the beginning of this video, I mentioned I had a few changes I'm going to be making to my scheduling with this YouTube channel. Yeah, I know it's a little self-righteous of me to announce this to all 100 of my subscribers, but for like the last couple months, I've been releasing a model build video every Saturday. And to most people, that is an insane turnout rate for models, which it is. And for a few of them, you can definitely see where they could have been better. Thinking about that Key 32 video, which honestly, I just made that kit because I was trying to detox from the SU-33. So yeah, no, that's why that kit doesn't look all that good when it was finished. But of course, that video became the largest video on my channel, so that was awesome. But or at least currently it is. But yeah, no, I'm gonna make the change to that. Instead of every Saturday, I'm releasing a build video, and every once in a while on Wednesday, I release a review like the one you're watching. I'm instead gonna do it where every first Saturday and last Saturday of the month, if there is a last Saturday, of course, I'll be doing a build video, and on one of those in the middle Saturday, I'm going to be doing a review like this one. It's mostly so I can give myself some more time with my models, you know, make them look better, but also make sure I'm not getting burnt out. And of course, 2 weeks on a model for a lot of people is still a very fast turnout rate, but I'm trying to work through my stash. It's been building up and it's getting ridiculous, and starting to feel bad about all the unpainted models that are just sitting there waiting for me. So I really want to try to get through as many of them as I can before the end of the year. And I don't know. that's pretty much the main announcement I'm making, and this is Phoenix Labs signing off.